Former South African President Jacob Zuma has been sentenced to 15 months in jail for contempt of court. Zuma repeatedly refused to appear at or cooperate with an inquiry into allegations of corruption during his almost decade-long rule. Melinda Nucifora has the latest.
He's long attracted allegations of corruption and dodgy deals, but former South African President Jacob Zuma has never been keen to front up and defend himself.
It is declared that Mr. Jacob Zuma is guilty of the crime of contempt of court.
After he repeatedly failed to attend an inquiry into allegations of state capture, corruption and fraud during his time as president, the country's highest legal body, the Constitutional Court, was asked to intervene. On Tuesday, the acting Chief Justice sentenced Zuma to 15 months jail.
Mr. Jacob Zuma is ordered to submit himself to the South African Police at Nkandla Police Station or Johannesburg Central Police Station within 5 calendar days from the date of this order.
The inquiry is investigating, among other things, accusations that the then president allowed businessmen Atul, Ajay and Rajesh Gupta to influence policy making and plunder state resources. The 79-year-old is facing a separate corruption trial involving an arms deal he brokered in the 1990s. He's denied any wrongdoing in both cases.
How do you plead to them?
I plead not guilty.
Zuma served as South African president from 2009 until his own party removed him from office in 2018. But the after effects of his time in power still reverberate. Melinda Nucifora, TRT World.
For more on this, let's speak to Karam Singh, who is the head of legal and investigations at Corruption Watch. He joins us now from Cape Town in South Africa. Welcome to the show. Now, we know that this sentencing is a result of Jacob Zuma not showing up in front of the inquiry commission that's investigating corruption charges against him. Remind us, what are those charges that he's facing?
Well, the charges that he faces relates to an arms deal which took place in the early 2000s, late 1990s, that he's alleged to have received unauthorized payments. There are numerous charges that have been laid against him, but that corruption case that he faces predates his time as president and is unrelated to the court sentence that was imposed upon him today for contempt in terms of not presenting himself before the Commission of Inquiry into state capture. So it's important to note that these are two separate issues.
Right, and precisely on that point, now he of course says that this is an international conspiracy against him, but his own successor from his own party, the President Cyril Ramaphosa right now, says that during Jacob Zuma's tenure, corruption cost the country at least $35 billion. Now, when allies are saying things like that, is the writing on the wall for Jacob Zuma?
I think the writing is very much on the wall. I mean, he definitely will have to serve some type of a prison term for his contempt. The other court case will continue, and you know what this Commission of Inquiry has done. It's been going on for over 3 years. Is it's now established quite a significant historical record to show how, under the Zuma administration, the state was repurposed to service the needs of private individuals, that this was a criminal conspiracy linked to, if anything, if you want to talk about outside forces, there were outside forces linked to that era of state capture. So I think, we expect to see significant findings and recommendations coming out of this Commission of Inquiry, and it's very possible that former President Zuma could face other charges for his culpability for his time during that period.
Now, Karam, talking about outside forces, one of the names that comes up is, of course, the Gupta family. And considering that they are now sitting outside of the country, do you see the government being able to get back any of this money?
This is an incredibly difficult issue, both the bringing of the Guptas back to South Africa to face charges and the idea of recovering money. So some of the assets that they've left in South Africa have been seized, but we know from the money laundering networks that money has gone through numerous bank accounts into Dubai, into Hong Kong, and into other jurisdictions, and retrieving that money, tracing those assets, and then recovering that money is going to be a significant challenge for the South African state. And as you say, we're talking about amounts in the billions of dollars.
Karam, now, South Africa consistently ranks poorly on the Corruption Perceptions Index. How much of a problem, how much of a systemic problem is corruption for the country?
I think it's clear that what this Commission of Inquiry has shown is that corruption is very deep-seated, that it is a systemic problem, it's very difficult for government to mobilize funds for any significant project without there being some aspect of it which goes to corruption. So we've seen this even in response to the COVID pandemic with the procurement of personal protective gear, that there was significant corruption in those processes as well. And now we've had this period of over 10 years of hollowing out of institutions, of attacks on the judiciary, attacks on the criminal justice system. So South Africa is really coming out of a very difficult period, and one would like to think that in this current moment that it's possible that we are turning a corner, that law enforcement is being recapacitated, and that there is some accountability that's happening. So, the conviction of Jacob Zuma on this matter is if anything, symbolically very significant for South Africa turning a page and moving in a different direction.
It's interesting that you brought up the case of that protective equipment and the alleged corruption that took place there, because I was going to ask you, what has the current government then done to root out corruption and improve sort of transparency within its own workings?
It's been a piecemeal process. So I mean, in the first instance, there have been key appointments that have been made to independent institutions. So we've seen a revitalized tax collection agency. We've seen a revitalized prosecuting authority. There's still significant challenges in the police, and there's still real challenges around corruption that the police are facing. But the government has given its full support to this Commission of Inquiry. Officials from the state have gone before the commission and given testimony. So yeah, it's been a process. The needle has moved to some extent, but there's still so much more that needs to be done for South Africa to live up to the promise of the Constitution and the promise of the constitutional democracy and the struggle against apartheid that was led by leaders like Nelson Mandela and others.
Right, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us on the show, Karam Singh, with the Corruption Watch.